Recently, I rewatched Detective Pikachu, and a thought came across my mind while I was watching it, which was, there should be more of these live-action Pokemon movies. Now, I don't know about you, but personally, I really enjoyed Detective Pikachu. I loved so much about it, from the characters to the Pokeball design to most of the Pokemon. I really only have two issues with the movie, namely the underrepresentation of the Generation 4 Pokemon, and also Gengar's design. Like, honestly, look how they did my mascot. Anyways, my point is, the franchise that we all know and love may also end up becoming a live-action movie franchise that we all will end up loving, as long as they continue to be as good as the first one. And honestly, I think given how the first ended up making triple of what it cost to make in the first place, there will definitely be more than just a sequel. So, in this video, I'm going to talk about what I would like to see in the sequel, as well as the story of some potential spin-offs. And if you guys want to add anything at any given time, feel free to leave a comment down below. And just remember that this is all purely speculative, so whenever more details come out about Detective Pikachu 2, I could end up being off by miles. Who knows? Now then, assuming that Justice Smith and Ryan Reynolds return in their roles for Tim and Harry Goodman for all of this, I personally would love to see them travel outside of Rhyme City, because I feel like if they had another story inside of the city, it would feel pretty enclosed and just a rehash of the first one. So I feel like they should travel to another region, since they reference Alola and the Pokemon Rangers in the game, as well as Kanto being name-dropped directly in the movie. And in whatever separate region that they travel to, I think it would be fun to watch them solve some crimes, especially if the plot possibly ends up involving a very famous evil team who just loves to commit crimes. You know, their name starts with Team, ends with Rocket. Now, I'm not sure if the movie would have the same charm as the first, considering that Ryan Reynolds is no longer voicing Pikachu, but I would still love to see Tim go out and get a Pokemon team of his own, and him and his father take down Giovanni and his goons, whether the story revolves around Team Rocket hunting down Mewtwo, or just trying to take over Kanto in general. And even honestly, if that doesn't end up happening, I would still love to see Tim have a battle or two over the course of the movie, which could even leave it open to have Ash or Gary show up as supporting characters that are either relatively involved with the story in one way or another, or one and or both of them ending up being an opponent that Tim has in a tournament or something. And honestly, it doesn't even need to really be Ash or Gary, because we already see what looks like Red in the opening sequence of the movie, so they could possibly just give him a different name, since Red isn't a realistic name for somebody to have. And needless to say, that could also leave the door open for spin-offs. Which now brings me to the next thing that I would like to talk about. Now, even though I do love Detective Pikachu, I love the anime movies a lot more. Specifically, Jirachi Wishmaker, Destiny Deoxys, as well as the rest of the first 7 or so movies. And honestly, any of those being adapted into a live-action film would be amazing. And if Ash gets introduced in Detective Pikachu 2, that leaves the door open for any of these movies to happen. But I also don't think some of those films would translate very well given the scale of a few of them. But I think a movie being inspired by the smaller scale stories like Pokemon Forever and the Latios and Latias movie would be a fun little one-off. As much as I would love to see a live action form of a lot of the other legendaries like the Light Trio, the Elemental Trio, and such, I also feel like those specific Pokemon would be way too big in scale, because Groudon and Kyogre are basically terraforming the entire planet, and with Solgaleo and Lunala, you would also have to introduce the Ultra Beasts and wormholes and all that stuff, and that's just really too complicated that most people would understand leaving the theater. Especially if it involves Dialga, Palkia, Giratina, and Arceus, since the 4 of them are literally gods. The stakes involved with any and or all of them would be way too big for the movie to feel believable, in my opinion. I feel like the closest thing that we could get to that level would be a story involving Silvally, but since Mewtwo is the first legendary Pokemon used, I don't think that it would be a very good idea, since they are both man-made attempts to recreate an ancient Pokemon. So, focusing on some less god-level legendary Pokemon for either the sequel or even a spin-off, for example, the legendary beasts, the Swords of Justice, or even any of the legendary birds, just to name a few, would be the best course of action. and maybe Raikou could finally get his own movie for once, as well as maybe even just focusing on Ash's adventures to begin with. I don't know how him going through an entire region and battling all these gyms would translate into a movie, and if they could pull that off, I'd be extremely open to watching that as well. But given that I think they're going for a little bit bigger scale, I think that they would just end up focusing on Legendaries, since all of the anime movies focus on them anyways. And now, if you guys have anything to add, feel free to let me know down below in the comments. On top of, what do you guys think that they might end up doing to replace Pikachu's role as the talking Pokemon in the future? And as always, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.